Hey Ravi,
Hey, Balaram. Thanks so much for your time and your
no
different time.
problem. All my pleasure, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I went through your inputs on Pankaj. Great to really actually see you, Balaram. Uh, coming to a couple of questions, I think you did mention it, but I think let's record it for posterity. When was the first time you met Pankaj? And before that, can you, in terms of your answers, share incidents, vivid stories uh, that'll actually help me spice up the entire book?
Yeah, it's been a long time, okay, Ravi. I'm trying to rejig my memory in order to find when was it for the first time. So I remember Pankaj. I was at Dell in 2005. That was my first company I joined.
Hmm.
Uh, right. Pankaj was already a senior director at that point in time on analytics.
Hmm.
Uh, I didn't know him for some time, but obviously Pankaj being Pankaj, people hear about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone knows about Pankaj. Pankaj also knows everyone by their name, right? One of the distinct thing that I remember was, being in that fourth floor. I think that was where analytics at Dell was,
Hmm.
and with some friends and Pankaj just saying hello to everyone with their name, and I was surprised, and I was like, "Does this guy know everyone by their name on this floor?" And someone told me yes. All right.
Hmm.
So that is how I remember. And some of those incidents, there are not many people that you remember, and not many people that do this,
Yeah.
right? So that is how I remember of Pankaj, but I didn't really know Pankaj until Urban Stampede was happening. Okay, Urban Stampede Bangalore, Puma Urban Stampede. Yeah, I remember the name as well. This There you go. Right. So it was uh, uh, Dell had a four-member team, which obviously Pankaj was the architect of it, I believe, at this point in time. And there was one guy who had said they'll not be able to come and run. I don't know if this was somewhere in Bangalore.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, and someone, it was not Pankaj, but someone who was running asked me, Balram, they knew I used to go to gym a little bit. I used to play TT. I was pretty social there. Maybe I had a smoking group. People knew me too. Right. So they said that, they asked me that whether I wanted to join Urban Stampede, and knowing, what I knew, I was an athlete when I was growing up, and I used to do everything that a athlete does, from practicing martial arts to playing football every single day. I was a very disciplined as a child. I used to wake up at 4:30 a.m., go for a run, play football, practice martial art, go home only by 7:30. So 3 hours was mine every single day as a child,
Hmm.
right? And I did this for the longest time in my life.
No.
So knowing that, I thought, okay, well, 5 kilometer would be easy because I had done that in the past so many times, every single day, right?
Hmm.
But when I went there, my lungs gave up. A lot of things happened, whatever I wrote there. And and Pankaj had to actually pace me up to finish that 5 kilometer. That's how, while going, I started knowing Pankaj. I knew Pankaj a little bit, but I started knowing Pankaj a little more in this whole process, in the journey of running. And and I asked Pankaj, hey, I want to join your group
Hmm.
to run. Right? Where do you run? He said there's this Dandi run that we do every Saturday and Sunday. You could come there. But when I said, can I join? He was like, you're not there. I said, Balram, that's what he told me.
Hmm.
First practice, and eventually you can come. So it took me almost a year, from 0 kilometer to 10 kilometer. It took me some time, but then I promised myself that I would run, uh, not actually 1 year. I don't even remember it, whether it's 1 year or 6 months. From there to Kaveri Trail Marathon, I think I ran my first full marathon, from 2000 in 2009. I ran my first full marathon. Right. I had promised myself that, from 5 kilometers in 42 minutes to 42 kilometer in 5 hours. I didn't do it in 5 hours. I did it in about 6 hours, but I
Right.
did that. That was my first full marathon.
Right.
It took me months to get me from 0 to 10,
Hmm.
maybe a year or less than a year. But then that's when I joined Pankaj, and that's where we used to run from Koramangala, Sony Signal,
Hmm.
right? That's what Pankaj used to come running.
Right.
Pankaj and Chandra and a few other folks, at times used to run, and we used to meet there. And
Hmm.
from there on, we used to go all the way till Inner Ring Road, Domlur, towards that army camp. From there to Brigade to MG Road. Now there's a flyover. There used to be no flyover, and we used to take a break in Cubbon Park, water break. Again, meet up more people from there to Windsor Manor towards Palace Grounds. What is the Kaveri Theatre? Take a left, Sadasiv Nagar, Shanky Tank. And then from IASC, IASC to Yeswantpur, near the Yeswantpur station, take a U-turn, come back to Shanky Tank for water, and end in Cubbon Park. This used to be our 32, 33 kilometer stretch.
Wow.
And then have breakfast in an airline hotel. That was our Saturday routine. You know, so wherever I was, Saturday, I used to make myself available, not for the run, just for this wonderful conversation. And Pankaj is would be the glue for this entire band of people, right? So I was very young then. Right, I just started my career, and Pankaj was already, if you know, uh, he was already a big shot, for the lack of better word, right? He already had a name in the industry, but the way he would come and talk to us, the way he would bring other people. So Pankaj introduced me to a lot of his friends who are entrepreneurs, who are very successful in their own right, right? And therefore, I used to take a lot of inspiration from there. From Pankaj, his group, and Pankaj may not know this, right? But you impact people in a subtle way that you don't even realize how you are impacting. And I'm sure Pankaj has done this to many, many people. Like I said, I even credit my marriage to him,
Yeah.
because if it were not for him, I would not even be married, because I was not even looking at it, and my family wouldn't care for me for sure. They're like, not just that. I mean, in terms of, I'm doing reasonably well in my life right now, right? I take a lot of inspiration from him as well. So I was talking to him the other day, and he said he'll ask me to come in and talk in Birla or wherever, in terms of how my leadership journey has been, right? So after that, I moved to Amazon. I worked in Amazon. I'm working at Uber right now. So I'm doing okay. Let's put it that way. But a lot of credit, every time I need a suggestion, I go to Pankaj, and then Pankaj is always there to give his suggestion. So yeah, that has been my story. And one more thing, when Pankaj told me that, hey, you'll never get married outside, you must have read that, right? Outside Dell, Inner Ring Road, in that was 2009, I believe, and 2009 or 10, and in 2 years, 2011, that was 2011, if I remember it correctly. And 2 years, I had gotten married also, and we were running Hyderabad Marathon. I had moved to Hyderabad.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, great. Okay.
I had moved to Hyderabad then. I worked in Hyderabad for a long time. My wife had just finished her law from National Law School, Hyderabad, Nalsar, and then we were not husband and wife at that
Ah.
point. Right. So I took her and I went to Pankaj and then said, look, I'm getting married to Ritika, and I had still not told him that it was because of him. Right. This was, long afterward, that I told him that this is what happened, and he was also surprised that, you know he instigated me for that entire thing.
And quite a strong statement from him, right?
Yeah,
You'll
yeah.
never
I mean,
get married. Oh my
yeah, he looked at Chandra, and Chandra had his own story. Chandra was like, look, and I didn't want to say this because, do you know Chandra has he given?
Yeah, I've spoken to Chandra.
Okay, so okay, then if Chandra does not want this to be quoted, I don't want it to be quoted. Okay, but Chandra was looking for a girl then.
Ah,
Okay. I didn't want to write. And then Chandra was like, look, Pankaj, I got this girl. We ate masala dosa or something in Leela Palace, the hotel in Bangalore. And then
mm,
she again ditched me. Pankaj was crying his own usual story then, right? And he used to have a lot of the stories back then,
mm.
right? Because he was trying to get married, and he had a lot of stories of how girls were rejecting him, because as a Telugu, every girl wants the boy to go to the US,
Yeah. I'm
right?
also
And
Telugu from Hyderabad.
of course, I know that, right? So So he was like, look, but he didn't want to go to the US and he was happy in India. So none of the girls, even BSc, BA marriage would not, BA pass would not get married to him. And Pankaj and Chandra as such was from IIT, right? He had good credentials. He was doing very well for himself at that point in time. But his story was there, and then and Pankaj heard, and they discussed, and then Pankaj turns to me and said, "Look, you'll be exactly like Chandra." So that is what hit me hard. I'm like, will I turn out to be this? I'm looking for a girl and I have no girl to get married to. I don't want to die all by myself, all alone. That's what I thought at that point in time, right? So that is what triggered and landed me wherever I am today. Whether I'm happy or sad, it's all up because of Pankaj. I'll not tell you that.
I mean, a lot of people, I think almost a dozen people have actually spoken the last 3 days. Uh, People talking about how he actually operates without a personal agenda in the corporate setting, approach to engaging with people, crossing information sharing insights, and his leadership style regarding time in meetings. Uh, uh, I know you've already spoken about the kind of impact he has had on you. Any kind of models that he spoke to you on, the full stack human being or the social, emotional, ethical intelligence, the C model that he talks about, or the five C's. Uh, has he actually spoken to you about any of these models and how the impact
Yeah.
is on you?
Yes. So Pankaj is a model for everything. Right? Every time you say something, he'll have three C's or five C's or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
I don't particularly remember a lot of his C's, but
Mm,
you know what? Based on his model,
mm,
his mental model in life, his philosophies in life, the way he derives, uh, solutions out of a problem in
mm.
any situation using his model is something that I picked up very well. Okay, so I'll tell you why I maintain a book for interviews, and some days I'm going to publish it.
Mm,
Okay, so I give a lot of interviews in a lot of different companies. I coach a lot of budding talent,
mm,
right? A lot of leaders. I train a lot of people as well in the company setup as well. I do that. But one thing that I have taken from Pankaj is I have a model for everything in my life too now,
mm. Sure.
right? I have a value system, and I was debating about my value system with him like a month back,
Sure.
and he asked me where is the we spoke about a lot about AI and leadership in the age of AI,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
think that's something that we spoke, and back in 2014 or 15,
Mm,
right, or even before that, I decided to have a value for myself as a human being. How do I want to operate?
yeah.
Right? I thought about it. It's deeply influenced by a lot of philosophies, including Bhagavad Gita, I believe, because I'm a little bit philosophical in that aspect as well.
Mm,
But said that, I devised a value for myself. All right. Again, this was an outcome of what I learned from Pankaj as well. Consciously, subconsciously, you learn a lot when you are with that person for 3 hours every Saturday, or like 2 hours every Sunday. It's a lot of time that you are spending, and it's an unhindered time during the run because there's nothing else to focus on. You're having conversations.
yeah.
One, you
Mm,
are tired and you're talking, right? So
it's-
your all the notes in your brains are completely open,
mm,
right? And you're having that conversation that has a lasting impression on you, on your subconscious mind as well. You absorb a lot in that process, right? So I have built my own process around it, learning from Pankaj, and well, that's what I'm following. I mean, I don't know if I gave you the answer that you're looking for, but I've been influenced a lot by him. Let's put it that way.
I think a couple of requests from my end. I think he might
Yeah.
have told you that I do this podcast. I've done 2 seasons until now. I haven't really started this year though. Maybe the first one will be with Pankaj himself. Sometime whenever you feel it's right, if you want to actually talk about your philosophy of life or the kind of leadership you're actually leading across companies personally and professionally, or after publishing your book, we actually have a
Now,
format.
I have some time for that because I'm so busy. I'm traveling to the US this weekend. I'm in a very responsible position right now, and I do my own podcast too in the office.
Oh, is it? Excellent. Okay. So just in case you have time for a podcast, let me know. I would
I will, but how do you want to do it? Is it in India, or I mean,
no,
you may have your own
it's
setup.
just like this. Just
Okay.
like
Okay.
virtual.
Yeah, I can do that. I'm coming to India on April 9th. My
I
family is still back there, right?
ah,
My wife decided not to move here.
okay.
Okay. So she's like, yeah, I can't be in Europe because she's a lawyer. She has her own job, very strong women. I mean, Pankaj has shaped a lot of me, and the remainder is my wife, right? There's nothing. I do not have any takeaway for myself, to be really honest, right? Uh, so and that's what my wife decided not to move here because there'll be no job, and like every strong women who like their own independence is like Europe is not a place for me. Although it's very good for me, I would rather it's good for me if I move to the US. But the reason why I'm in Europe and not in US is because it's too far, right? I keep traveling there. So yes, 9th of April I'll be there. I'll be there for 20 days, right? Because I have my daughter, my wife there. Every 6 weeks I go and spend a couple of weeks in India, and I come back here. So we should be able to do it in IST hours.
Sure, definitely, definitely. Anything else you want to share? Something which I didn't pick it up. Some questions
Uh,
they have not really asked because you know him more than me.
yeah. So one thing, I graduated from running to becoming a barefoot runner.
Oh, mm,
My first marathon, and I'll tell you how it relates to Pankaj,
sure.
right? My first full marathon, I injured both my knees.
Ah,
Kaveri Trail Marathon.
okay. Mm,
And it took me almost a year and a half for my knees to be for my knees to be healed. It was not even healing. It was not even healing. And I spoke to a lot of people, including Pankaj, and someone suggested in their group, read Born to Run by Christopher McDowell.
mm, mm,
Okay. And as a kid, I was a barefoot runner.
mm, mm,
Okay, because I mean I grew up in Assam, right? And no concept of shoe then, right? Take your chappal or whatever, open it and run.
yeah.
So I read the book a little bit, and then I also heard tech talks on that, and realized that maybe shoes are the one which is hurting you. So I ran for 3 months every single day, 10 kilometer in Cubbon Park, Queens Park,
Mm, mm,
if you know, in Cubbon Park. And you know what? Both my knees were as good as new. Even to this date, if I run with shoe, I get injured. I have all kinds of shoes with me. I go back to barefoot, and my knees are good again.
right.
Right? So I told the story to Pankaj.
Mm,
Right? He was in Hyderabad, and I was working for Amazon at that point in time. He was working for the Wells Fargo.
okay.
He used to come. He used to come frequently to Hyderabad. My wife was also working at Wells Fargo at one point in time,
Oh, I said
right?
okay.
Yeah, yeah. So they worked together. My wife was in legal, and then Pankaj was the senior vice president of strategy or something, right? So and then they worked together a little bit there as well. But whenever he used to come to Hyderabad, we used to make it a point to run in Botanical Garden. Yeah, not the KBR Park. I used to run in KBR Park also, 16 kilometers every single day. I've done that, right? But lately, I bought a house in Kondapur near Masjid Banda,
Mm,
and I bought a house there so that I could come to Botanical Garden and run. And whenever Pankaj was there,
mm,
I used to call him, and then I said, as part of Guru Dakshina,
mm.
let me give you one thing. Let me give you barefoot running.
Ah, okay.
He tried. He tried. It was difficult for him, but he tried a couple of times. I think he went back to shoes, but he tried a little bit of barefoot running with me.
So, yeah, that's great.
Uh,
That's great. So,
So,
Balaram, I think that's all I have. I think once the transcript has come, I'll put across the story. I'll share with you. I'll share with
mhm.
Chandra as well because Chandra also is part of your story.
Yeah.
Take his permission before I put it back in the book as such. And any other question which I have, I think I'll ping you. And
Yeah, if I remember anything else as well, I'll let you know. But it's been such a long journey. There's no one event. Now, a lot of events shapes your personality, your theme. I
yes,
remember the theme, but the event, it takes a while to jog the memory.
absolutely. I think once you're in India, I think Bangalore or Hyderabad, I'll definitely ping you and maybe take time in case you have time to have a podcast as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll love to do that. Anyways, that's the new thing, right? Podcast is the new thing. I'm doing it myself. I've done it in the past, and I'd love to do it as well. If my journey can be of help to people, why not?
Perfect. Perfect. Thanks for your time, Balram. I'll be in
Thank
touch.
you, Ravi. Thank you. Bye.